Hello everyone, this is Puka and welcome to another Pokemon TCG video. Today we're going to look at a very interesting and unique deck that was played by a player named Andrew Wambolt at the US National Championships. He had some good success with the deck, making it to the second day of the largest tournament in the world. And that's going to be a very interesting Landorus Dusknoir deck. Now if you want to take a look at Andrew's explanation of the deck and all the choices, I will leave a link to his article in the description, so go ahead and give that a look if you're interested to know his thought process. I'm going to be taking a look at it and trying to explain it a little more briefly. So, the main card in this deck is going to be Landorus EX. Hammerhead does 30 and 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon for just 1 fighting energy. That is very efficient. That's going to be 60 total damage for a single energy, assuming your opponent has a benched Pokemon to hit. Now, if we combine this with Muscle Band, which we are going to play 4 of, that's going to bump that up to 80 damage for a single energy, and that's just pretty ridiculous, considering we can do this starting on the first turn. Now, the problem is, a lot of the time, this damage is just kind of left out there, right? We're just hitting things for 30 on the bench, and it doesn't always become relevant. Sometimes you hit something for 30, and then you end up doing too much damage and knocking it out. So, we're going to combine Landorus EX with Surprise, Dusknoir. Sinister Hand allows us to rearrange this damage. It seems like more and more people are figuring out how powerful Dusknoir really is. We see it pop up in so many decks now. Even this one, which is pretty much all basic Pokemon, he decided I should cram a Stage 2 Pokemon in here, because it's just that good. So we actually have a very heavy line, a 3-2-2 Dusknoir line, along with 2 rare candy just to make sure we can get this bad boy into play. Now, one of the first interesting things here is we have actually 1 Shadow Void Dusknoir as well. We never see this played. Heck, most people probably don't even know what it does. So Shadow Void allows you to take a damage counter from one of your other Pokemon and move it on to Dusknoir. So why in the world would we need to do this? Well, sometimes we just want to protect our big Pokemon EX. Landorus EX gives up 2 prizes when it's knocked out. If it takes a hit, we don't want it to go down. So instead, we're going to use Dusknoir's Shadow Void to move the damage away from our other Pokemon and onto this Dusknoir. And then after we do that, we can use Max Potion to heal off all the damage on the Dusknoir, and voila! No harm, no foul. Now, normally we would just see people use Max Potion to heal off the damage, but that also requires you to discard the energy attached to that Pokemon, which can be costly sometimes. So instead, we're going to run this Dusknoir to keep the energy on the Pokemon while still being able to heal it. Since we're already running such a big line of Dusknoir, seems like it's worth it. Now, Landorus EX struggles big time with Yveltal EX. It resists fighting, however, it is weak to lightning, which is where Raichu comes in. Circle Circuit can knock out Yveltal EX in 1 hit if you have a full bench. Since it is weak to lightning, it'll do 200 damage. So Raichu is our answer to Yveltal EX. It's an evolution, which means it can hurt Pyroar, and in general, it's just a pretty solid big hitter. It doesn't have much HP, but hey, it knocks things out, and that's important. Our other attackers in the deck, we're going to have 1 Mewtwo EX. Of course, X-Ball, everyone should know what this does by now. You never know when you just need to slam down a Mewtwo and do a bunch of damage with X-Ball. And our last attacker is actually pretty interesting. It's not a card we see very often, and that is Registeel EX. What? What is going on here? Really, we never see this played. What is going on? Well, Andrew knew Landorus EX is weak to water. What is water? Plasma Curum. So that's going to be a very big problem. Right? Plasma Curum with just Frost Spear and a Muscle Band and Deoxys EX. Just think of how much damage that is doing to our poor water-weak Landorus EX. It's just, that adds up very quickly, and it turns into a very bad matchup. Registeel EX happens to be metal, which Curum is weak to. Also, we have triple laser to work with. So this does 30 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. With a Muscle Band, we would actually hit an active Kyurem for 100 damage, and then also hit 2 benched Pokemon for 30 for a total of 160 damage. And again, with Dusknoir, we can rearrange that however we want. Registeel has a fire weakness, which most Team Plasma decks wouldn't play any fire Pokemon, so it's just a nice tech card there for those Plasma Kyurem decks. A very well thought out deck. Our last Pokemon is Jirachi EX. Stellar Guidance, just an incredible ability. Allows us to search out a supporter card. Turns all of our Ultra Ball and Level Ball into supporters via Stellar Guidance. Right? Search for a Jirachi, search for a supporter. There we go. So those are the Pokemon. We've already looked at Max Potion, Rare Candy, and the 4 Muscle Band. We have 3 Ultra Ball, 2 Level Ball, and 1 Heavy Ball just to search out our Pokemon. Outside of that, we have a lot of switching cards, 2 Escape Rope and 1 Switch. This is because all of our Pokemon have such high retreat costs. 3 Retreat on Landorus, 4 on Registeel, 2 on Mewtwo, 3 on Dusknoir. The last thing you want is to have a Dusknoir stranded active, and you just sit there and watch as you lose. That's no fun. So we have a lot of switching cards, along with Dowsing Machine as our A-Spec, in order to recover another one if need be. We also run a single copy of Enhanced Hammer. Just discarding 1 special energy can slow an opponent down 1 turn, which can be enough to win the game. Think of those Team Plasma decks that run so many special energy, and almost every deck does run special energy at this point. Even our deck does run double colorless energy. Even Virizion Genesect decks run plasma energy. Most decks do run special energy, so Enhanced Hammer is a very powerful card. Other cards we have, 1 Super Rod just to recover some energy, and some Pokemon, 1 Startling Megaphone. This is very good against Garbodor. We can shut off Garbotoxin, regain our abilities, and use Sinister Hand in 1 big turn. And then we have our supporters, 4 Professor Juniper, 4 N, 3 Colress, and 1 Shauna. 12 supporters is a little light, but with Jirachi EX, we can make up for it, since so many things search for it. For the energy, we have 6 Fighting and 3 double colorless. And that's going to round out the deck. Now, it's a strange deck because on one hand, this deck seems very complicated, but on the other hand, the strategy is fairly simple. Spread out damage, use Dusknoir to rearrange it. So very cool and unique deck. Definitely worth taking a look at. And I really thought this is one of the most creative decks that got played at US Nationals. So let's see this deck in action and see just how this Dusknoir Landorus deck will work. Will it work? That's my question. I've never actually tried this deck before. It seems a little crazy. And what is going on? My opponent actually let me go first. I've never seen this happen. Oh my goodness, Landorus versus Landorus. Alright, well, we're getting a preview of the next format when Strong Energy comes out in Furious Fist. Landorus versus Landorus. Who will win? Now, right there, I opted not to play the Level Ball, knowing my opponent has Landorus EX. Right, if I just put down a Duskull, it's going to get hit by Hammerhead, and that's not very good for me. So instead, I'm just going to hold my hand and pass. Maybe I should have just Level Balled for the Duskull, because, I mean, I got to put it down eventually, but I was just waiting there, and we'll see what happens now. Alright, so Muscle Band on my opponent's active Landorus. Hypnotoxic Laser puts me to sleep. And I do feel like if there's one thing this deck is lacking, it is Hypnotoxic Laser. Feels like this deck certainly should play it. You seem like you're at such a disadvantage against other, even Landorus decks that do play it. It's a pretty big deal. So I am a little worried that I don't have that Hypnotoxic Laser on my side, but we'll try to deal with it. Gonna start off here with a Hammerhead for 50 damage, and then hit the bench Landorus EX for 30. And a pretty strong start. My opponent did miss the fighting energy to use Hammerhead, so a very, very big deal there on that first turn. Instead of powering up for the Land's Judgment, which doesn't seem like a very good idea, I'm actually going to power up that Registeel EX on the bench. Try to use Triple Laser at some point, since it does actually do more damage than Hammerhead in total if your opponent has 3 Pokemon in play. Doesn't seem like a bad idea. to just get it all powered up. It's another big EX that is actually pretty difficult to knock out in one hit. So we'll see what happens. We do see a Trubbish come down, boo Trubbish, and a startling Megaphone discarding the Muscle Band on my active Landorus EX. So not the greatest thing. And we also saw the Verbank City Gym. That's pretty scary. Now that poison damage is going to add up very, very quickly. But we'll see what we can do about this. Second Trubbish comes into play, and there's the Hammerhead for 50 damage. And you can see why Landorus EX can be so powerful now with Muscle Band, Hypnotoxic Laser. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on there. It's pretty silly. Now, I have a big decision here. I can max potion the active, but I think I'm going to try to hit a switch right here and try to attack with Registeel this turn. I have a max potion. I'm going to heal off the Dusknoir since I've already attached for the turn. If I do miss the switch, I still want to be able to attack. And this doesn't look very good, does it? I'm going to go ahead and play a level ball. I could get a Dusclops, but I'm actually going to go for another Duskull. I have the option to rare candy into the Shadow Void Dusknoir, but I mean, if I do that, how much damage can I really save off of my Landorus? Probably not enough to make it worthwhile. So I'm just going to let it get knocked out. We'll go ahead and hit for 30. And 30 to the bench Pokemon. Big missed opportunity, missing that switch or escape rope there. We do play 3 switching cards. Just didn't manage to get one right there. I think that would have been a very, very big difference maker. Being able to triple laser for 50 to the active and then 30 to 2 benched Pokemon. Instead, we have to do just 60 with a Hammerhead. Not quite as good. You know, missing that one big turn of damage spread could be the difference between winning and losing. So, a little worried about that. Also, we have Garbodor in play. So now our abilities are gone. No Sinister Hand, no Shadow Void. Not looking good. But, you know, we're only going to go down 2 prizes after this Hammerhead. We do have a fully powered Registeel EX, so it could be worse, right? Yeah, it could be worse. Alright, so we see a heavy ball, and it looks like that one actually failed, which is actually very surprising. I don't know how that failed. There's got to be a lot of heavy Pokemon left in that deck. But we just see the Hammerhead for the knockout, and then 30 damage to the Registeel EX. So, I mean, that was expected. I was wondering if he would go after a Duskull or the Registeel. Looks like he's going after the Registeel. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. I mean, it feels like a waste rare candying into that Dusknoir, but I'm going to go ahead and just do it to get that into play. I got a kind of a strange hand here. I think I'm going to Ultra Ball, discarding Muscle Band and a Fighting Energy. There's so many useful cards there I don't want to get rid of. But I really want to get Dusclops out so I can get Dusknoir into play next turn. And we'll go ahead with a triple laser, hitting the active for 50 and then 2 benched Pokemon for 30 as well. So there we go. Triple laser coming in handy here. And it's going to be very difficult for my opponent to actually knock out Registeel right here, right? He's going to need a switch, a double colorless, a hypnotoxic laser, and another benched Pokemon. So that's going to be pretty darn difficult, I think. But there we do see the switch and the double colorless. Uh-oh. This is going to get pretty ugly if I get knocked out. I was really banking on Registeel surviving there. And if I would have had Shadow Void there, it would have been impossible to knock out Registeel. But oh no. There is the Hypnotoxic Laser and another benched Pokemon. Oh, that is just downright disgusting. Oh, after the end of 4, my opponent pulls a, what is that, a 4-card combo, switch, double colorless, Hypnotoxic Laser, and another bench Pokemon. Ouch! Definitely couldn't have seen that coming, but, oh well, now we gotta find a way to deal with it. So I will go ahead and play an N, but what in the world can I even do here? We'll put down another Duskull, since I could get, I don't know, we might need to get some Dusknoir into play. This is looking very ugly. The only positive thing I would say is that we do have a lot of damage already on my opponent's field. And after that end, my opponent's only able to Circle Circuit for 120 damage, so I will survive. That's a good thing. Maybe buy another turn here. We'll go ahead with a Chorus for a pretty heavy amount of cards. Let's see. I can Ultra Ball here for a Landorus EX. Seems like a pretty good idea. Or I can't. Okay. Looks like I have 2 Landorus EX in the prizes. That's not good. Probably should have searched for that, but when you play on Pokemon TCG Online, those kind of things kind of fall by the wayside sometimes. So now I have to Super Rod the Landorus into the deck along with 2 Fighting Energy. Probably should have played the Super Rod first. Whoops. My mistake, but alright. That just makes this even more difficult. Super duper. Alright. So, my opponent's going to go down to 1 prize, which means we'll be down 5 prizes here. And we don't have any attacker in play. We just have a bunch of Dusk things. Dusknoir, Dusclops. Not a very intimidating field. Especially that we don't have the Psychic Energy to Pain Pellets. Then we could really bring the pain. But no, we're getting dealt the pain quite a bit with that Circle Circuit getting a knockout. And man, this is going to be a really, really tough comeback to make. I am going to promote that Dusknoir since it does have so much HP. Alright, here we go. I'm going to Ultra Ball for the Landorus EX. Painful, I have to get rid of an Escape Rope and a Muscle Band, but hey, let's just go for it. Oh boy. Once again, not a great hand. But you know what? I did get the startling Megaphone, so this is a big thing. I think I'm actually going to go after that Landorus EX with the Fighting Energy since I would like to take 2 prizes here. Seems like a good idea. That way, I mean, I can maybe get a Fighting Energy off the prize and Dowsing Machine for an Escape Rope or something. And hey, alright, there we go. Wow, those were actually 2 beautiful prizes. Wow, that's incredible. Enhanced Hammer and a Fighting Energy. So this is going to be a very, very big turn of events, I think. I do have a Dowsing Machine. I'm going to go ahead and play that. And unfortunately, this is one of those spots where I wish I had a switch, but I only have an Escape Rope. So I would like to hit the Raichu with Hammerhead since it is weak to fighting, but instead I have to Escape Rope, and now the resistant Tornadus EX comes out. But I held on to the Enhanced Hammer, expecting the Tornadus to come out, and now we can just go ahead and Enhanced Hammer, discard that energy off of Tornadus EX. And, you know, my opponent really hasn't played any supporters recently. That's a DCE down. I'm not sure how many he has left, but, you know, this could be the start of a big comeback. We already did get that big 2-prize turn. I'm going to go ahead and move a bunch of damage to that Landorus EX, since I already used my Startling Megaphone and Dowsing Machine. Might as well try to take advantage of Sinister Hand while I still can, right? I may not get to use it next turn if another tool goes on to that Garbodor, so I'm going to put it on to that big EX on the bench. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to knock out Tornadus EX anytime soon with Landorus EX. But we do see a switch into the Raichu, and that may be a Circle Circuit. We're going to see an N from my opponent, putting himself down to 1 card. And just a Circle Circuit for 60 damage. Say that 6 times fast. Circle Circuit for 60 damage. I'm not even going to try right now. I do have a Max Potion. That is my last one. I may just use it right now to avoid any sort of shenanigans. I don't know, that's tough. There's no way I could really lose next turn, I don't think. Maybe, let's see, 60 from a blow through. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with the Max Potion right now. Let's just go ahead and attach that second energy to the active to power up for a big ol' Land's Judgment. And Hammerhead for 60, and I think we might want to hit the Tornadus EX for 30 at this point, but that 1 prize is pretty irrelevant. We're still going to have to take 2 big knockouts at this point on Pokemon EX. But, oh man, I was going to say my opponent only has 1 card, but there's a Colress for 5. No! So my opponent has plenty of time to come back here. I will not be able to win anytime soon, but, you know, we do have a shot at winning here. after a pretty abysmal start, I would say. There, we just see another switch and a Hammerhead for 30, hitting the Dusknoir on the bench for 30 as well. Gonna go with a heavy ball, and there's nothing else to take. Yep, we can see there's some decent stuff left in the deck, but I'm probably gonna go with a Land's Judgment this turn. I'm not sure if I should bench my other Landorus EX that does power my opponent's Chorus if he does happen to draw one off the end. But you know what, I would rather just not draw my Landorus, so we're going to go ahead and put that down, and my opponent down to 1 card. I will get 3 cards. There is enough damage in play to move to the active for a Land's Judgment, where I won't have to discard my energy. So this seems pretty darn good at this point. Go ahead with the Sinister Hand. We do have to move a lot of that damage, though. So I'm really banking on my opponent not getting a lot here. We do have the Land's Judgment for 80, getting the knockout. And really, I just have to hope my opponent doesn't get a double colorless right here. That would be really disastrous. You know, a blow through and a Hypnotoxic Laser will lose me the game. It seems pretty unlikely. My opponent only has 2 cards, and one of them is that Float Stone. A DCE here makes things very difficult, though. Yeah, just not going to be a good situation if we see a blow through here. If my opponent misses, though, and he does, this could be huge at this point. Oh, man. I do have that Pikachu. We can put that down to make sure I can Circle Circuit for the win next turn. But that does open up a play for a Lysander and a blow-through for a knockout. So I don't know about that one. We're going to play it a little bit safe here and not put down the Pikachu. Let's just Land's Judgment for 60 damage. And now if that Tornadus doesn't move or knock me out, we can Land's Judgment, discard all of the energy, and win the game. I wish we could have done it last turn, but no. He's resistant to fighting, but victory! My opponent concedes, and wow, a 6-1 comeback from the Landorus Dusknoir Raichu deck. Wow, really looked like we were down and out after that big knockout on our Registeel, but you can see the resilience of, you know, any deck with Dusknoir can make a gigantic comeback, and that's just a prime example of that. So an interesting deck for sure. I'm not sure exactly how strong this deck is, but it was very creative, and it's a lot of fun to play, so figured I would go ahead and feature it here on our channel. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Puka from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.